For millions of years, dinosaurs were the dominant species on the planet.
Hiya. What's it doing?
They came in all shapes and sizes, from the smallest scavengers
Why did you say scavengers?
to giant, slow-moving herbivores.
Because it's a Jurassic Park.
But this wasn't a time for the weak, with predators sporting the biggest teeth ever and prey that could defend
Yeviatan is crying.
themselves with giant bony clubs. Threats came from every direction. Get ready to run for your life, because these are the 15 most dangerous dinosaurs in the world.
Because some you could probably outrun. Actually not sure.
Number 15, T-Rex.
Okay, this
Tyrannosaurus
isn't
Rex is
supposed to
probably
be in 15, but okay.
the most famous species of dinosaur that ever lived. They lived between
What about chickens?
68 and 66 million years
And
ago on an
two!
island continent called Laramidia,
You should say Jurassic Park.
which has since broken up and became what is now the western side of North America. Based on complete fossils that have been found, they stood up to 40 feet tall and weighed as much as 15 tons. They walked on 2 legs
15! That's it. There was an estimate which was 15, but I'm not sure that's...
had huge heads, so much so that they needed large tails to help balance properly. They had short but powerful arms, with toe-clawed fingers. And even though they weren't necessarily the largest of dinosaurs of their kind, they probably had the
They
most
were! They were the
powerful
biggest
bite by
fossils.
far. They would have been the apex predators in the region at the time, and preyed on smaller and less aggressive species. Since they've never
probably
been
were.
observed in the wild, though,
Yeah.
there's also the suggestion that they may have been scavengers and opportunistically fed on the carcasses
They were half... It's most likely that they scavenged
of other dinosaurs
and not complete scavengers.
that had already died. Either way, from the approximately 50 T-Rex specimens that have been found so far, one
Cretaceous like
thing's for
dinosaurs.
sure: they were extremely dangerous, and we wouldn't have stood a chance against one if we had been unfortunate to be alive at the same time. Before we go on, we have a cool challenge for y'all that will take 5 seconds to complete. Let's make a deal. Just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe
Dislike.
button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 10 years of amazing luck
Don't
and
trust
fortune.
this challenge.
Try it. It actually works.
That's
Number
probably
14,
coffee, right?
The Sinosauropteryx, which means Chinese
It's tiny. I could punch it and kill it.
reptilian wing,
I could
is a
probably kill
species
it
of
by just
dinosaur
holding
that
it.
was first
You
described in
Tyrannosaurus.
1996 and lived in the region of what
They're
is now
saying it,
northeastern
something
China
is
during the
Tyrannosaurus.
Cretaceous period.
That's what That's a weird sound.
Around
That's
140
what you
million
Tyrannos-
years ago.
Oh, yeah,
It's the
the
first
big one.
species of non-avian dinosaur that is known to have been covered with feathers, although they weren't feathers like we know from birds in modern times, but were instead filament-like structures that gave them a level of temperature
dinosaurs.
regulation. They had strangely small arms and very long tails, and, based on limited specimens that have been found, were 3.5 feet long and weighed around 1.5 pounds.
Yeah, I
They were
could throw that
carnivores,
thing.
and since specimens have been found with the remnants of lizards and mammals in their guts, they would certainly have attacked and eaten anything of a similar size. Interestingly, there's also evidence that they ate venomous animals too, so they may have even had a natural immunity to certain toxins. Sinosauropteryx are also thought to have been pack hunters, and large groups would have been able to collectively take down animals much larger than themselves, and as a group were one of the most dangerous animals to have ever lived. Number 13, Liopleurodon. The Liopleurodon
Not
was
the
a
dinosaur.
species
not
of
the
aquatic
dinosaur.
plesiosaur that swam in the world's oceans during the late Jurassic period around 160 million years ago. They were undoubtedly the apex predators of their time and are thought to have grown to up to 21 feet in length, although there are some indications that individuals could be as much as 4 times this size. They are believed to have usually weighed around 2.5 tons and were essentially twice the size of a great white shark.
Just so you know, I'm not sure.
researchers first became aware of the species in
They haven't shown the Iopleurodon yet. They've only shown Planet Dinosaur. I just credit.
73, when 3 teeth were found, and it was based on these that the name was given, which means smooth-sided teeth. Further discoveries have shown them to have a row of razor-sharp teeth, however, each of which were 3 inches long, and would have meant that these fierce carnivores would have made light work of anything in the ocean. So much so, they wouldn't have thought twice about attacking anything that was bigger, even though they probably usually
They probably would have fought if they probably wouldn't have
targeted medium-sized fish and crustaceans. Number 12, Ankylosaurus. The chances are that you've heard of an Ankylosaurus, as they were the dinosaurs that were covered in armor plating, and had a huge club on the end of their tails. They lived during the end of the Cretaceous period between 68 and 66 million years ago, and their remains have been found across North America. Surprisingly, for such a well-known species, a full fossil has never been found. Because of this, everything we know is based upon partial specimens, but researchers are fairly certain that they grew to around 26 feet long and weighed up to 8 tons. As well as the easily identifiable features, they also had
I think it's younger than a T-Rex's tall. That might be incorrect.
Horns that pointed back from their heads, and another set of horns that pointed downwards beneath them. Their noses faced sideways, and they had a break over their mouths. To have so much armor, Ankylosaurus must have been very strong and muscly, and would have been able to wield their tails with brutal effectiveness. Just one strike with this devastating weapon would have been enough to instantly kill most predators.
Well, it ain't instantly kill. It would just yeet a raptor into the air and
if not, severely injure them. Number 11, Sarcosuchus.
This is the same dinosaur.
The Sarcosuchus, which
also is not a dinosaur.
Crocodile, was an early ancestor of today's crocodiles.
It wasn't. It was a split lineage. It didn't have any descendants.
During the early Cretaceous period, around 120 million years ago, it was one of the largest crocodilians to ever walk
It wasn't a crocodilian. It was a crocodilian morph.
Planet. And could grow to more than 30 feet long and weigh as much as 3.5 tons. 2 species have been found, one that lived in modern-day Brazil, and the other whose remains have been found across Africa. It was only by the year 2000 that enough specimens had been found to fully describe them, and they had some noticeable differences to what we think of with crocodiles. Their top jaws were significantly stronger than their lower jaws, for example, and they would have preyed on aquatic animals, as well as venturing onto land to hunt smaller species of dinosaur. Curiously, their physiology suggests they wouldn't have been able to perform the so-called death roll that crocodiles use to dismember their prey, so would have either had an alternative technique to perform the same task, or simply swallowed everything whole. Number 10, Allosaurus.
How's an allosaurus? Oh, I didn't even mention how it is more dangerous than
a carnivorous dinosaur that lived during the late Jurassic period, around 150 million years ago. The remnants have been found in the fossil-rich regions of North America and were first discovered in Colorado in 1869. There are actually 6 different known species of Allosaurus.
That's carnivorous.
All of which had very unusual vertebrae, which is why the name means different lizard. They walked on 2 legs and were up to 31 feet long in most cases, although some fossil specimens have
no idea what... Yeah, 10 meters. I've just realized you said Anky is like 8 meters, and T-Rex is 40. It's over 12 meters.
They could be up to 45 feet long.
What?
They
it's not bigger than a T-Rex. That's Saurophagonax.
Likely weighed several tons, and were probably the apex predators of the time, preying on most of the other large dinosaur species.
No, Saurophagonax was. Actually, there were multiple apex predators. There was them, there was... I can't remember who... Torvosaurus, and both the Torvosaurus and Saurophagonax would have absolutely yeeted an Allosaurus in battle.
They are known to have hunted Stegosaurus, for example, after an Allosaurus tail vertebrae was found with a puncture wound that's the shape of the spike from a Stegosaurus tail. There have also been some examples of 2 specimens being found very close to each other, which has led researchers to suspect they may have been pack hunters, which would have made them even more...
Or they may have just got stuck in tar pits. I don't know what you're talking about, but if you're talking about the tar pits, then that's
deadly. This could instead be a sign that they fought with each other, however. So it's hoped that future discoveries may once and for all solve the question of whether they had a complex social hierarchy or not. Number 9, Troodon.
Troodon's not more
Troodon
dangerous than
formosus
dinosaurs.
was one of
Also,
the
it's not
first
about-
dinosaur
which
species
is
to be
upsetting
found in
a
North
lot,
America.
but-
When paleontologists dug up a set of fossils in Montana in 1855. For more than 20 years, they were thought to be a large species of lizard. From more
They
recent
aren't a dinosaur, or they aren't a proper dinosaur. I would still say they were, but officially they aren't. They
but as more became known about the deposit where the fossils were found, it became clear that they were a species of dinosaur that were dated to a specific time during the Cretaceous period, around 77 million years ago. The name quite ominously means wounding tooth, and this is in reference to their sharp and serrated teeth
realize
that
there's a
would have
thing
been
called
used
a
to
gore
inflict
lizard.
serious damage on their prey, and were likely powerful enough to tear chunks of flesh, while the victim was very much. Their geographical spread meant that, depending on where they were, they had slight differences according to climate. Those in colder regions, for example, were several feet taller than their 4 or 5 foot long cousins from more temperate climates, and it's even thought that the amount of feather covering they had would alter based on how warm they needed to be.
Of course!
It's not clear
That's
if
the
they
one
were
that makes more
ferocious
sense, not
carnivores or
size.
scavengers,
But they-
or even if they worked together in groups. But you certainly wouldn't have wanted to come across one if it was feeling hungry. Number 8, Tyrannosaurus. The Kronosaurus was
not
a
a
type of
dinosaur.
short-necked
And it's also not
plesiosaur
a
that swam in the
Kronosaurus.
world's oceans during
I
the
know
early
what the
Cretaceous
images
period
are,
around
Kronosaurus, not
140
Kronosaurus.
million years ago. 2 different species have so
That's a
far been
mosasaur, that's
discovered, one
completely
whose fossils were unearthed in Australia, and the other that was found in Colombia. They grew to up to 36 feet long and are believed to be one of the
36.
largest plesiosaurs ever.
It's not dinosaurs. That's a mosasaur.
The name means Lizard of Kronos, in reference to the leader of the Greek Titans. They had long heads
That's
and
what I
a
said.
large rigid body. Their 4 flippers were how
That's
they
what I
swam
said.
through the water, and they had sharp conical teeth for tearing into flesh. Most specimens had teeth that were up to 3 inches long, but some examples have been found that are a terrifying 12 inches long. They probably weighed anything up to 14 tons, and because they were lizards, would have had to return to the surface every few hours to fill their large lungs with oxygen. At the time this species was
That's a
alive,
mosasaur.
there's no other known creature
That's a
that was
mosasaur.
anywhere near the same
That's a
size.
mosasaur.
Kronosaurus was,
That's a way too
therefore,
dangerous.
the dominant predator, and would have made light work of anything they came up against. Number 7, Amphicelias fragilimus.
The name looks amazing!
The carnivorous
Also, it's not even called Amphicelias fragilis. I can't remember what it's called. I wish it was still called.
Dinosaurs. is the most
This one was found. I've said it in the last video, but it was found at Cope's Nipple, that place is called.
dangerous, but sparing thought
Just
for
fun
the
fact.
herbivores, because with their extreme size and weight,
And
they could certainly put
That's
up a good
Argentinosaurus,
fight. The
not
Amphicelias
Amphicelias.
fragilis
That's
is a
dippy,
great
I think.
example of
I'm not
this.
sure. I haven't watched I've watched Dominion.
As they were a leaf-eating
That's a
species that lived
brachiosaurus, I
around
know.
150 million years ago during the late Jurassic period. Found in what
That's
is now known as North
Argentinosaurus.
America, they were related to the more well-known Diplodocus.
Pardon?
I haven't completed the
I know, but
What am I going to have to do instead?
just pause it, stop the recording, pause it, and just do the other recording. We'll stitch
Okay.
it together.
I have to go now, so we're just going to do... This is part 1 of it. I'll do the next part. But see ya. Heyo again. We'll continue watching the rest. I've got back.
And were a similar size at an estimated 82 feet long. They weighed more
Oh, yeah,
though,
talking
with a
about
theoretical
Amphicelias.
mass of
You're
up
not
to
showing
20 tons,
Amphicelias.
which would have required incredibly powerful
Amphicelias.
legs and tail muscles
No
to
Amphicelias.
support. Once fully grown,
No
very
Amphicelias.
few other dinosaurs would have messed with them. Their tail whip alone would have caused huge damage.
They didn't exist. The fossil is degraded. We don't know what it is. It's also not called Amphicelias anymore. That's not a
And they'd likely
That's
have
right.
been
I
able
don't-
to
I
throw
don't
any
know what
predators
it is.
free of them
That
without
is
much
an
effort.
Argentinosaurus.
This was fortunate because they wouldn't have been able to move very quickly, at just a few miles per hour. And because of their weight and the way they walked, other animals would have felt faint trembles in the ground for up to a quarter of a mile.
It doesn't exist. I'm just stubborn.
away. Number 6, Velociraptor. Probably one of the most renowned.
It's the size of a turkey. It might be able to hurt you. It's not more dangerous than a T-Rex.
Renowned dinosaurs of the time, velociraptors were a pack-hunting species that, when working together, could have felled virtually any large dinosaur. They lived during the later stages of the Cretaceous period, around 73 million years ago, and there are actually 2 distinct species that we know of, both of which have been found in China and Mongolia. This means they wouldn't have ever come face to face with a T-Rex, for example.
Tyrannosaurus.
And they were very different from how they're portrayed in movies. Velociraptors were more like the size of a turkey, and would have been no more than 4 feet tall. Fossil evidence now...
I'm now thinking, how 4 they might have been 4 feet. I'm not. Still massive.
That they were feathered, and they probably weighed no more than 30 pounds. Despite their size, they were fast and had a powerful bite. They had extremely sharp serrated teeth that were curved to allow them to bite into something and hold on tight. They also had hands with 3 sharp claws, and it's thought that they would have dug into their prey with their teeth and slashed away with their claws until their victim lacked the energy to...
Not slashed. The most popular theory by scientists is the raptor prey restraint, where it would have just held its prey. There's also a chance that it punctured, but it did not slash. That is confirmed incorrect.
Keep on fighting. Number 5, Asdarchidae. During the Cretaceous period...
That is a family, and also it's not a dinosaur. The Asdarchi, all Asdarchis aren't dinosaurs.
Period between 140 and 70 million years ago, Asdarchidae were a type of pterosaur, and some of them were the largest known flying creatures of all time. The name has its roots in the Persian word of Asdar, which was a legendary dragon-like creature, and they were probably the closest nature has ever come to a true menace of the skies. They had very long legs, and necks had large heads and jaws like spears. It's quite possible they could use these to pierce the skin or armor of their prey, and then transport it to their nest where they could take more time to devour it. Due to their size, they probably didn't spend much time in the air, and are thought to have lived lives more similarly to the way storks and hornbills do today. In other words, standing on the ground and using their powerful eyesight to scour the surroundings for their next potential meal. Most would have eaten small dinosaurs and recently hatched young, but
They probably, but I'm now thinking, I know Hexagopteryx does. I'm not sure about the others though, I don't think they would have. They might have hunted
larger species of Asdarchidae would have been one of the dominant predators and taken anything but the largest of land animals. The biggest ones had wingspans of up to...
A small Dakota raptor yeets it into oblivion. Your only... Which one was very similar to that would have been... What? 66 feet what?
66 feet, and would have dwarfed...
What about 66 feet? It's not 60.
Standing on the ground and using their powerful eyesight to scour the surroundings for their
They're
next
not
potential
60
meal.
feet.
Most would
It's
have
20
eaten small
meters.
dinosaurs and recently hatched young, but the larger species of Asdarchidae would have been one of the dominant predators and taken anything but the largest of land animals. The biggest ones had wingspans of up to 66...
That is wrong. They were not 22 meter long wingspans. I was like, how long 60 feet? I'm really struggling to understand because they all put it in American and stuff. And I can use miles, like I'm fine at using miles. I know roughly how long that is. I do have to translate it into meters to understand. But 20 meters is not what they are. They are not 20 meter wingspans. 22 meter wingspans. It's not that. That would be 11 adult, big, 11 very tall people.
6 feet, and would have dwarfed most other dinosaurs across modern-day
They
Romania
weren't dinosaurs.
and Germany, where their remains
Did you say
have been...
Indiana and Germany?
Number 4,
Oh,
Pelagornis.
I'm just gonna...
Darkidae would have been one of the dominant predators and taken anything but the largest of land animals. The biggest ones had wingspans of up to 66 feet and would have dwarfed most other dinosaurs across modern-day Romania and Germany.
Why Germany? They lived in Transylvania, not Germany. If anything, I would think they would live in Hungary.
Their remains have been found. Number 4.
They did not. There probably is one that lived in Germany, but not Herzegopterus. I don't think.
Pelagornis sanders. Only
That is a dinosaur. Is it more dendroid than a T-Rex?
one specimen of Pelagornis sanders has ever been found.
It has got the youngest wingspan of any bird, but it wouldn't be a threat. Unlike a T-Rex or an Allosaurus.
On its fossil, it was the second largest bird to have ever lived. With a wingspan of up to 24 feet, it was twice the size of the largest birds that are around today. But there is a lot that researchers are yet to understand about this species. They lived during the Oligocene period around 25 million years ago, and appear to have weighed as much as 80 pounds.
It was not the second biggest bird. The second biggest bird is the ostrich. Oh no, the second biggest bird is the ones from New Zealand, the really big ones from New Zealand. You didn't say that could fly, so technically you're wrong. It's not the second biggest.
Pounds, which means it's not entirely clear how they were able to fly, because this would make them too heavy to lift into the air under our current understanding of the way flight in nature works. They had what are known as pseudo-teeth on their bills, which are particularly effective at piercing and holding onto slippery prey, so most likely lived on a diet made up of entirely fish. Pelagornis sanders would have been an awesome creature to see in flight, and undoubtedly ruled the skies. Quite why they died out, and why no birds of this size are alive today, is not yet clear, but it's hoped future discoveries of the species may help to understand the mystery. Number 3, Pterodactylus antiquus. With a name that means wing.
How is that thing more deadly than an Astarchid?
Finger, the Pterodactylus antiquus may not immediately strike fear into your mind. And even though they were fairly small pterosaurs, they would have been a force to reckon with in large groups. They
would have been a force to reckon with. All the Astarchids crying because they aren't higher than this little pterosaur. How is this more dangerous than a T-Rex, and how is this more dangerous than an Astarchid?
During the late Jurassic period, around 150 million years ago.
That's Pteranodon.
And their fossils have been found in Germany, elsewhere in Europe, and in Africa.
Why'd you say elsewhere? Why do you only seem to know Germany and Romania? You must know more European countries than that.
Teeth, perfect for tearing flesh, show that they were carnivores, and it's believed they preyed mainly on fish and small animals. There's evidence to suggest that in times of need, however, they would group up in flocks and take on much larger dinosaurs, with some remnants of bigger specimens have been found with Pterodactylus antiquus beak marks in their bones. They had a wingspan of between 3 and 4 feet, and
4 feet. Tiny. I could hold it by its neck and kill it. I could kill it with my hand.
Claws on their feet that were several inches long. There was a crest on their beaks made from soft tissue that probably served as a function in mating rituals. And unusually, it's thought that they could be nocturnal or diurnal depending on when the food in the region was most plentiful. Number 2, Pteranodon longiceps. The Pteranodon
Why do you keep showing non-dinosaurs? Why do you think pterosaurs are dinosaurs? Pteranodon, it was more dangerous than the other one, but not the Astarchids. The Astarchids would easily beat it.
Was, for many decades, the largest known species of pterosaur after being first discovered in 1871 in Kansas.
Kansas. And not in,
They had a wingspan of a whopping 20 feet and had a backward pointing crest that formed the basis of what we usually think a flying dinosaur looks like. They lived around 85 million years ago when the central US was covered in water. Pteranodon longiceps is thought to have spent the
stupid.
in 1871 in Kansas.
What was it?
They had a wingspan of a whopping 20 feet and had a backward pointing crest that formed the basis of what we usually think a flying dinosaur looks like. They lived around
I think of flying usually. If you're thinking of flying dinosaurs, if you can't think of birds, that's not what scientists think of.
5 million years ago, when the central U.S. was covered in water, Pteranodon longiceps is thought to have spent the vast majority of their lives flying over the water in search of fish and other potential food, and rarely ever went back to land apart from the breed. When they needed a break or wanted to eat whilst not airborne, they would have landed on the water and floated on the current until it was time to fly again. This maneuver probably wasn't the easiest of things, and simulations suggest they would have had to hop and splash about for a few moments until they were able to generate enough lift. While they didn't have any teeth, they certainly had a mean attitude and would harass larger animals by flying around them.
None of these pterosaurs have pycnofibers. They should
and violently flapping their wings. They're the perfect example of how it wasn't just the mouths of the dinosaurs you had to watch out for, because many had other features that were just as dangerous. Number 1, Dimorphodon macronix. The
Dimorphodon is more dangerous than, even if it was excluding the T-Rex, how's that more dangerous than the Nastarcid?
Dimorphodon macronix was a species of pterosaur
that
is now Europe, and virtually all specimens of this species have been found in the so-called Jurassic coast of the UK. Their name means two-formed tooth, which is in reference to the fact that they had two distinctly different types of teeth in their mouths, ones that were designed to tear flesh and others that were designed to grab tightly onto prey. They were fairly primitive, with only a small cavity for their brains, and would have stood about 3 feet with a 4.6 foot wingspan.
Only a
4.6 but based on their physiology, they most likely fed on fish and other aquatic animals, as well as small land animals.
It's 4 foot wingspan. I could just pull its wing and it would die.
It's also thought that they may have been pack hunters and would work together to hunt larger prey that could feed them and their young. Despite the way they look, they probably weren't very good at flying because of their large heads and large bodies in proportion to their wings. They wouldn't have been able to glide and probably only flew for short periods of time, or as quick means of escape if danger was close by. Which of these would you be most frightened of coming face to face with?
T-Rex, the 15th. It was more like the opposite countdown, except whatever you put Ashtarkid, you've put them horribly. Why is that order so weird? And now I can go off and finish recording. Day and bye.